Okay, according to my clock, right, it's like 1:59 p.m. Should I wait until 2 o'clock? Yes. Okay, can. Okay, as you all can see, this is the style of talk you're going to get, huh? Yeah, okay, we will wait for 2 o'clock. But yeah, this is a good size. I like this size because this is a size where we are very intimate, and then I can make it more interesting. Don't need to be very formal. Okay, 2 o'clock. Come, let's start. Hello everyone. So it's not very often, right, that I get to address a room full of women, and one gentleman there, thanks for coming. Your support is appreciated, sir. So I want to thank the organizers for putting me on this stage, and today I'm going to be talking about creating art with CSS. So my name is Hui Jing, and these are the emojis that describe me as a human being. Feel free to interpret them however you like. If any of them don't make sense to you, later can come and ask, no problem. I also have a day job because gainful employment is a good look on me. I need to pay my bills. So currently I'm with Nexmo as a developer advocate. Nexmo, I'm obliged to say this. Oh shit, got camera. Anyway, Nexmo is a company that does communication APIs for messaging, voice verification, and among other things. Okay, moving on. Enough about me. Let's talk about art. So what do you think of when you see or hear the word art? Like, do any of these famous paintings cross your mind? Very famous, like got Mona Lisa, got like the Great Wave, got like some Starry Night. Or maybe you're like a sculpture person, so you're like, the Sphinx is a sculpture, okay, people. Made of stone is also considered sculpture. So maybe you think, oh, art, sculpture. Or like maybe this, let's call these contemporary art pieces, right? I know some people don't think this is art, but personally, this is the kind of aesthetic that suits me. But this is a dictionary definition of art from the 1913 edition of Webster's Dictionary. Why 1913? This, I let you go and Google 1913 Webster's, and you'll realize why I chose this particular dictionary definition. But it says it is the application of skill to the production of the beautiful. So art in and of itself is actually a very subjective thing, right? So there's not one single universal definition, but I think this one's not bad. This one's pretty good. So I think most of us went through some basic drawing and art lessons in school. And I can confirm this for people in my generation who went to school in Singapore or Malaysia. You confirm went for art class. Nowadays, I don't know what the kids are learning in school. Actually, I also don't know what you actually learn, but I got some basic knowledge about colors and shapes. But I'm also a very terrible student in that when I was told to do art, I didn't want to do art. When I was not supposed to be drawing, that's all I did. So this is the kind of nonsense I did when I was in class. So now you know why I'm not in teaching, because karma is real. If I become a teacher, right, all my students give me this kind of nonsense. Anyway, but what I figured out from all this doodling is that capturing something in the real world on a piece of paper is mainly about observing and sort of like breaking down what I see into simpler and simpler shapes. So let's talk about shapes, right? Let's talk about how to create basic shapes with CSS. Now, CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheets, which is a declarative method of telling the browser how you want elements on your page to look like. To be honest, I prepared this talk not knowing what the audience mix would be. So like if you don't do web development or when you see CSS, you want to run to the next room, never mind, don't run yet. If the code doesn't make sense to you, it doesn't really matter because I think the point of attending a conference, right, it's more to get inspired, to learn about what new things exist or maybe get an overview of how they are used. But you would really learn that thing, right? You would learn that technology when you go home tonight and try out for yourself. So today you just come and listen, hopefully slightly entertained by my nonsense. So let's start. This is a rectangle. A rectangle is a quadrilateral with 4 right angles, also known as an equilateral quadrilateral. Say that very fast 4 times. Say, just try. Oh, you're a very nice audience. Normally, this audience participation thing never works. It's like ask and answer, right? Okay, rectangles sometimes also called oblong. Or you can say it's a parallelogram with a right angle. You think about it. If you have a parallelogram and you have 1 right angle, you can not only have 1 right angle, If 1 is a right angle, all 4 is right angle. I never thought about it before, right? So parallelogram with 1 right angle is a rectangle. Okay, enough nonsense. We can also call this shape a box. And the web is made up of boxes. It's like boxes lined up next to each other, you know, boxes stacked on top of one another, boxes nested inside other boxes. So just remember that the web is full of boxes. So anything and everything that is rendered by the browser is going to follow this thing called a box model, right? And all the shapes we're going to be talking about today are modifications onto this most basic box. The borders of a box are exceptionally interesting, you can do a lot of fun things with it, and it's one of the key properties when we want to do this CSS art thing, right? So another basic shape are circles, and they make use of a property called border radius. So the value itself, right, it represents the radius of the circle at the corner of the box, and this affects how large the round corner is going to be. So if you can see here, right, if you set the border radius to 50% the width and height of a square box, we can get a perfect circle. That's all. The CSS for making a circle is it's not very complicated. It's border radius 50%. Learn something new. Okay, I must stop this nonsense. I'm sorry, I lack of sleep. I just got off a plane. Anyway, there are many CSS properties in existence, and some of them are shorthand properties, which allow us to set the values of multiple other CSS properties simultaneously. And border radius is one of those. So the thing about CSS, I think when I prepared this slide, then I realized that this must be why people think CSS is nonsense, because it can take anything from 1 to 4 values, and the order of these values applied to the box is actually clockwise, starting from the top left. So if you use 1 value, they're all the same. But if you use 2 values, then it's like top left, bottom right, and match with top right, bottom left. Oh my god, I shouldn't do this direction thing when I'm sleep deprived. So on and so forth. So that's why there's this handy diagram. If you want to take pictures also can, but later I'll share the slides with all of you. This is good to know, but you don't have to remember this kind of thing because Google is your friend, right? Yeah. So now we got circle, right? We also want to make semicircle. What is a semicircle but a circle chopped in half? Since we have made a circle by carving off the sharp corners of a square box, half of that means we only need to carve off 2 corners of a rectangle. So this is what you would do. So the reason why I showed the order just now is because for here, right, the border radius, so you will choose the 2 corners you want to chop off. Then the other 2, you leave it and you will get semicircle. Semicircle in like whichever direction, up, down, left, right, you know, whichever you like, right? Can scroll, very good. So and you want half of that, then it's called a quarter circle, I think. The border radius of any one of the corners will then have to expand to 100% of the width of the box if you want this type of visual effect. Right? So basically right now we're just chopping circles into like halves and quarters. So now we've got like 2 basic shapes and sub-shapes. Another very, very basic shape is the triangle. Now pure CSS triangles are made with borders. It's just that usually when we use borders in our designs, right, we make them relatively thin. So most people actually don't realize what happens when the borders meet at the corner. Turns out, they meet diagonally. When I first saw this, like, whoa. Because diagonally, right, we can work with this, So what if you just had a box with borders, no width and height? Then you get this. So the thicker the width of the border, it means you can create bigger triangles. It's like, whew. Because it used to be, right, when I want to do this, right, I would go to some like CSS generator, I copy, I paste, and then like, hey, very magical, I also don't know why I use border. Why border got triangle? I also don't know, just copy and paste. Then one day I went to research, and then this is why, my friends. Now you also know. Yeah, so most of the time, right, we don't want 4 triangles. I mean, sometimes you want 4 triangles, but most of the time you only want 1. So we just make the other 3 invisible by setting the color to transparent. Yes. Transparent is a color in CSS. Today you learn. So this is the technique for creating isosceles triangles. So it's triangles where like 2 sides are the same. So you can create like directions, and so the direction where you want your triangle to point, right? The bottom one you put a color, adjacent borders put as transparent. Then you get like up, right, bottom, left. I'm really having trouble with directions today. Yeah, never mind. So right-angled triangles are also kind of interesting, but they also operate on the same principles. It's about hiding the sections of the borders that you don't want. But so some of you who are more mathematically inclined, you have realized already, there's some trigonometry going on here. Because if you adjust the width, it's made out of two borders, right? If you adjust the width of one of them, you go and calculate, you use like sine, cosine, tangent, pick your favorite function, right? You're not limited to just right-angled triangles anymore, yes. You can actually make scalene triangles if you apply a little bit of trigo. And you thought high school math very useless. Go back and tell your math teacher, I need that trigo back now. Can give remedial or not? Also can. So rectangles, circles, and triangles are great. Very nice. Basic is good. But sometimes you need a bit more complex shapes or maybe more nuanced curves. So we also have Css properties to do that because there are like 500 of them. Like, so one of them has to work somehow, right? Yes, these are the ones that work. So a relatively new CSS property is called clip path. So basically what it does is that it creates a clipping region. So only parts of your box, remember everything on the web is a box, only parts of your box that you want to show are visible. So you can kind of like make shapes. And you can use the basic shape functions like circle or ellipse. But if you want a more customized shape, like you want to like, I don't just want I want like a star shape or something, right? There is a polygon function that you can use to create your custom shapes. And it looks something like this. So it's like it's a bunch of points. And these points are like x and y coordinates on a Cartesian plane. So you can define as many points as you like, no limit. So there are tools that can make this point plotting easier. If you you want to own self-plot points, go ahead. It's a free world. But if there's a tool, maybe use it. So if you use Firefox, right, this is already built into DevTools. So what you can do is that you can toggle. It's a bit small, I'm sorry. But if you open your inspector, right, and you go to the clip path property, there's going to be this funny little icon with circles on it. You click on it, and then it's gonna highlight the element with clip path set on it. You'll see all the points as handles. And these handles, right, you can just drag and drop. So when you drag and drop, right, you will see that the value actually updates inside the inspector. And what you can do when you're done is like, oh yeah, my shape look very pretty now. You can just copy that value, right, and paste into your code. So it makes life easier. But if you insist on handwriting your points, also can. Nothing stopping you from doing that. Yeah. So my earlier explanation of border radius wasn't complete because I said like, oh, circle is a round corner. Actually, your rounded corner doesn't necessarily have to be a uniform circle. You can define an oval or an ellipse shape by providing different values for the two dimensions because it's a border radius, right? So if you use this type of a syntax, meaning you have a slash instead of just two values, what the first value will specify the horizontal border radius, and then the second value is the vertical border radius. So then you can make like oval shapes. And this is a very interesting property because you can create a lot of irregular shapes just by manipulating the borders, right? So your border radius can potentially have up to 8 values, right? But the order remains the same. So it's still top left, top right, bottom left. Wow, I really had to brain cells, man, this one. So in this first example, like this teardrop shape, right, you can just make it using border radius. Don't need to do like extra funny things. So if you look, this example is the top left corner value for the horizontal is 100%, and the top left corner for the vertical is 60%. So that's why, oh, where's my mouse? Here. So 100%, 60%. So you follow the order. It looks complicated, but actually logically it does make sense. I just, So again, have to, must use. So if there's a tool available to make this more easy to do, why not? So somebody created this fancy border radius generator, right? So again, you can do the drag and drop thing, and then you just copy the values into your own code. Done. Actually, that's what I did for my example. So I'm not yeah, I cannot do this handwriting values thing. It's not my thing. I can do other things though, like, I don't know, lift heavy objects and wash toilets. Anyway, CSS also has a transform. Okay, can. Oh, I'm sorry. You gave me the mic just as I was going to start typing, so I'm still going to put it down anyway. I'm sorry. Yeah, so like CSS also has a transform function. So if you're familiar with image editing software, right, when you do like transformation, you do like rotate, you do scale, skew, CSS can do all of these as well. So let's say you start with a very basic box, right? Rotation, I think, quite straightforward. So like, okay, don't do 45 because 40. Oh, okay. Don't do 90 because 90 is like no result. Okay. So yeah, you can rotate a box. You can do it like however you want. You can scale the box. So you can scale it. 0 means nothing, huh? So scale 1, scale 1, scale 2. So you can scale along the x and y directions also. So for scale, it's a comma separated. First value for x dimension, second value for y, right? You can also translate. Translate just means moving the box left and right? So if like negative 50 pixels, it kind of moved a bit. Wait, move more. Like that. Just translate is for moving the box. And skew is quite interesting because skew you can make your box like really go funny shapes. So skew is basically like a perspective shift, right? So you can, from a square, it becomes a parallelogram. Yeah, okay, come back. And then you can also skew in the y-axis. And then if you skew both together, then you get like, ooh, funny shapes. Yeah, so this is a method for like creating more complex shapes also. One thing to note is that there's a transform origin which defaults to 50%, meaning the transform is going to take place from the center of the shape. So if you may not necessarily want that. For example, let's go back to rotate. I turn all these off first. Like just now when I rotated the box, it rotated along the middle. But let's say you want to rotate it off a corner, right? You can also do that. So like go back 0. So like you rotate, so it kind of hangs off the corner. So that's the transform origin. So depending on how you want your box to be transformed, right, you also want to change the transform origin. Default position is always center. So just something to keep in mind. Yeah. So transforms are also cumulative. So just now, as you could see, right, I had like a stack of transforms, and I just uncommented all of them, and they sort of acted individually. That's because if you want to combine transforms, right, you have to do it on the same property. So like the first example, do it this way. If you do it separately, right, it's cascading style sheets. So the CSS will only apply for the last transform. So if I wanted to translate scale and rotate, you have to do it the first way. The second way will only give you the rotate. So if you're trying to transform something and then it doesn't end up being the right result, maybe check this. Because sometimes you'll forget and then you're like, oh yeah, just do it like that. Don't. It's all under the same property. So okay, got a lot of shapes already. Now we should combine them because I think this is the most fun part of the CSS. Because like individual shapes are very fun, but then you have to put them together to make a picture, right? So I think this is actually a good example of how unique CSS is, because even though the individual properties are pretty interesting themselves, right, the full power of CSS actually comes from using all these various properties in different combinations to do like amazing things, right? So okay, I use the mic. Is this better? Okay, can. I'm not used to this, but like, okay, can. So anyway, I want to bring your attention to this. It's one of my favorite CSS projects on the web today. It's called a single div by this lady called Lynn Fisher. And she's created, right, all these, right, this is not picture, right? This is like pure CSS. And it's pure CSS in one single div. So it's like, this is to me, this is very impressive. So the next section, we're going to cover some CSS properties that kind of let us do something like that. Okay, this is a bit more high level, but the technique she's using is actually the same. It's just how she used them to make these kind of like very, very interesting, amazing designs. So one way to get around the limitation of only having one element to work with is to utilize something called pseudo elements. So using the pseudo elements of before,
and after. So when you use a before pseudo element on your selector, right, what it does is the browser will then create a child element that acts as the first child of the selected element. So any pseudo elements that you create, right, are child level of the element you selected. And if you do after, then it becomes a last child. So in order for the browser to render pseudo elements, you must have a content property set. The content property doesn't have to have anything in it, like empty codes also can. It just has to exist. It's like an indicator to tell the browser like yes, I want you to generate a pseudo element. It can be empty, it can be kosong, never mind. So this is just something to take a note of if you're going to use pseudo elements. And the next thing is, the size is a bit off, but never mind, you can see, right? You can see the boxes. The position property in CSS lets us set how an element is positioned on a document. So under normal circumstances, the browser will render elements on the page sequentially, like the boxes just line up. So they kind of like all exist on like the same level, right? The moment you set a position absolute, right, it's like you have removed it from the normal flow. But after you remove it from the normal flow, you can sort of position it anywhere you want relative to a parent element using top, right, bottom, and left properties. So before we move on, we can see how to create a simple illustration of a heart using only one div with the techniques we've covered so far. So we start off with a red square, like height and width the same, so it's a square. So then you have these round parts of the heart, right? So these two round parts we can use pseudo elements to create. So I've kind of created them already. So if you want to see them, I'll just position absolute. So there are two extra circles actually on this page already. So after that, right, it's just a matter of tweaking the position. So the before, I just push it up half of the box, and then I just push it to the left, then you get a heart. And the last thing you want to do, because this is like a tilted heart, right? Like, oh, sing it. No, okay, let's put it back up, right? You just transform it. So all these are just properties that we have just covered. And this is a simple example, but it kind of illustrates how we can put all these different properties together to start sort of making illustrations, right? So what if 3 elements are not enough? Because, okay, before, after, and the main element, okay, 3. But when you look at some of the Lynn Fisher's creation, right, clearly she used more than 3, right? Like anything, like it's impossible to do it with just 3. Gradients are a very good way to sort of add elements to your art piece. It's kind of like, it's not really adding more elements. It just looks like there are more elements. So this is the syntax for setting a linear gradient on an element. Again, don't have to memorize this. Google is your friend. Yes. Don't waste your brain space on unimportant things like this. Use your brain space for more important things. So there's no limit to the number of color stops that you want to apply. So you realize that a lot of these properties are the type that have no limit, so then you can be very creative with it, right? So you can actually get some pretty realistic effects by blending the right colors. It's just like if you're doing painting on an analog medium, right? So in addition to adding shading and depth with the gradient, right, what we can do is we can actually, when we define a clean color stock, we can sort of make it seem that we have more elements than we actually have. So if your design or the thing you want to draw has like bands of color or stripes, right, this is a very good technique. Linear gradients, you can do like unlimited bands of color using this. You just have to make sure that the previous color stock matches exactly the start of the next one. Otherwise, it's not going to be so clean. Yeah, something to take note of. But if what you need are like concentric circles, there's another type of gradient called radial gradient. And radial gradients are very similar to linear gradients, except they have some additional positioning values. So, okay, the second one is kind of almost the same as the previous example. It's just that because it's a concentric circle, right? There is a center, and you can actually move this center around. So you can use keyword values. Here I use circle at bottom right. That's why the center of the circle is like at the bottom right. But if I like change it to top, it moves. You don't have to just use keywords. You can actually specify like length values. So this is very hard to type in one hand. Okay, let's not do negative. Okay, anyway, just take my word for it. You can use CSS length values as well, and the length will be the distance of the center from the edge of the box. Yeah. So the last property I'm going to cover, never mind. I will edit. Yeah. The last property, I promise last property now. The last property I'm going to cover is shadows, right? A shadow is cast by an object, which means that the shadow will always be the same shape as the object that cast it. That's the only limitation. So shadows are actually good if you want to repeat the same shape multiple times. The syntax might seem a bit complicated, but like, I'm going to emphasize this again. If you can remember, good for you and your good memory. But if you cannot, just check like MDN web docs. They all got examples some more, yeah. So a pattern of circles can be created with one single div. So like box shadow no limit, right? So as many shadows as you want. So I don't know, can anyone tell which one is the original one? Actually quite easy to tell. If the position is 0, it's definitely the original one, right? So like, okay, let's change it to green so we can see which one. Ayo, cannot spell green. Yeah. So that one was the original, and all the other shadows are just position offset from it. So this, if you need to create a pattern of the similar shape, box shadows is a pretty good technique. And then we also have text shadows. So text shadows are like box shadows. Again, no limit to how many shadows that you want applied. But if you do use more than one, right, the order does matter. So they are applied front to back. So the first specified shadow is on top. So if you decide to make the offset like quite significant, because normally text shadow is kind of like, you want to do a nice like 3D effect behind the text, you use a shadow. But if you like offset it a lot, right, you end up getting copies. But the thing is that the copies, remember, are just shadows. So if you have something like multicolored, like in emoji, right, the shadow is going to be one single solid color. So that's the only limitation that you want to keep in mind if you're going to use this. But this is good because any textual content can use this. Yeah. So today is 31st August. How many people Malaysians here? See. Okay, got a few, got enough. Enough for me to stand here and talk about Malaysia. Today is Malaysia's 62nd birthday, and our national flag, I'm going to tell all of you who are not Malaysian about Malaysia flag because, hey, you all put me on this stage, too bad. I mean, you can also walk up, but don't walk up lah, huh? Give me some space, 15 more minutes. So our national flag is called Jalur Gemilang, or Stripes of Glory, and it's made of 14 alternating red and white stripes along the fly, and a blue canton with a crescent, and a 14-point star called Bintang Persekutuan or Federal Star. Jalur Gemilang. So this is a screenshot of a tweet that you cannot read the text, but basically almost every Malaysian developer at some point of time in their life wants to create a Malaysian flag using HTML and CSS. Multiple of us have done it. I did mine in 2017, so that's it. But think about it, a 14-point star, right? I had this conversation with a friend of mine, actually Gao Wei, she's actually giving a talk, workshop, like in the next room. I was telling her if I bomb this talk right now, I'll just slip into her workshop and like sit there. But anyway, we had this conversation about Malaysian flag and how kindergarten kids are supposed to draw their national flag. They were like, hey, Japan kids very good, just draw one circle can already. And I'm like, hey, look, these Malaysian kids are resilient, because at 5 years old, try to draw this flag. Like, as a grown-up, I also cannot draw this freehand. Like, so many things can go wrong. First of all, kids can't count, so definitely the number of stripes is going to be wrong, right? Then they probably also don't know proportion, so the blue part confirm proportion wrong one, and the last one is like the star probably just ends up looking like a durian. It's like, this is training Malaysian kids resilient, okay, my friends? But so again, like I said, Malaysian web developers' challenge is to create a pure CSS flag to celebrate National Day, because today is National Day. So we start off, we're going to talk about all the properties we covered, because, you know, after theory, must have practical. So the first thing you do, linear gradient, like I said, bands of color. This one count properly, because it's 14 stripes, so you actually have 28 color stops. So actually you can sort of, to make it easier to read, it's okay if you sort of arrange, like you sort of format in this manner. It's kind of easier to keep track. One thing that I didn't talk about was the Carve function, but you can tell the browser to do maps for you, because come on, let's be honest, right? computer sure can calculate better than you. Why you want to sit there and press calculator? Just let the browser do the math. So the calc function can do this for you. As you can see, there are a lot of divide by 14 because 14 is just a horrible number to work with, right? So there's a lot of divide by 14 and then times. But this is the code that generates 14 alternating red and white stripes. Moving on, the blue canton. So we can use a pseudo element for this because why waste an extra element so early in the process? No. So we use a before element and it should take up the height of 8 stripes. So you times 8. And the width of the canton according to the spec, because national flags have specifications. You're going to check. Got. So I already checked my national flag specifications and the blue canton must be half of the width of the whole flag. So that's why it's 7.5. My flag is 15 m by 7.5 m, just FYI. So then after cause the Malaysian flag has this crescent moon, crescent might be a bit tricky, but actually if you think about it, you see nothing about it, actually, you can sort of mimic a crescent moon with 2 circles. So if you have a larger circle and a smaller circle that is the same color as the background, and then you sort of overlay them over each other, it's like, like eclipse like that, then you get a moon. So your third element, you use the after to create the bigger circle. And this is a border radius, 50%, that's why you have a circle. So that's the bigger part of the moon. Now here cannot already. Here I single div efforts just failed because I cannot generate more. So just use a child element. Sometimes it's good to know when to give up. So we have a child element. It's called appropriately class bulan because bulan in Malay is moon, I think. So it's slightly smaller than the first circle, and then you just shift it to the right a little bit, then you get this beautiful crescent. So this one is called bintang. Bintang is again means star in Malay. It doesn't appear to do anything because I had not set a height or width on it. It's just purely for positioning purposes. Because we have come to the most exciting part of this flag, which is the 14-point star. This is not the only way to create it. I'm sure there are many other ways to create it, but this is just the way that I decided. So start off with the core of the star. It's already positioned. I've already adjusted it with this complicated formula 31 divided by 4. And then we start. Okay, so we start off with a very simple rectangle. It's same color as the moon, and the positioning is like at the center for now. And then we utilize, again, pseudo elements because we need to make a top point and a bottom point. So the top point, we will make use of the border triangle trick and sort of just, it looks a bit off. I'm going to talk about the limitations of this technique after all is said and done. But you use, because now you have 3 elements to work with, so the spike, right, you have the body of your spike as the main, you use before and after for the top and bottom, right? So after that, right, because it's 14, and thankfully it's an even number, because if it was 13, I'm also not sure how to do, man. Maybe do a bit more math. Yeah, but anyway, 14 is a wonderful number. It's just a matter of repeat it another 6 more times, and then you rotate it. Again, let your browser do the math calculation for you. So you can take 360 degrees and divide it accordingly to get the correct ratio. So that's the end result. Ta-da! So now, National Day fireworks. Yay! This is also pure CSS. And I'm going to leave it hanging. So those of you who are interested in how these fireworks work, pure CSS, no JavaScript. It's not that I don't like JavaScript, it's just I like CSS more. Right? So those of you who are interested can go and find out how the fireworks are done. But yes, happy 62nd birthday to Malaysia. I still got some time. And since we are in Singapore, we are in lovely Singapore, I feel obliged that I must talk about this. The Singapore flag, we must also have an honorable mention because Singapore flag legitimately can use one single div and do. Like, really legit. The Singapore flag also has a crescent. So you could do the crescent my way using separate elements, or you could also make use of the radial gradient. Because again, radial gradient, no limit. You can create as many circles as you want. So I didn't format the code very nicely, sorry, it's a bit weird. But so it's just 2 radial gradients, clean stop radial gradients. Again, the concept is the same. One larger, one smaller, and then just offset a bit. So in a sense, you save the element using the radial gradient trick for the crescent moon. And you would notice that on the Singapore flag, they're very normal. They just use a 5-point star. It's like, oh, it's great. Because a 5-point star actually exists as a Unicode character, which means it's text, which means you can use text shadow. Okay, let me scroll down. So you don't even need to invoke the second pseudo element. One pseudo element enough already. So all you do is, this is the Unicode for 5-point star. So after you 5-point star already, you adjust the font size a bit to make it sort of match the moon, and then you just text shadow extra 4, like then done. Singapore flag, single div Singapore flag. So yeah, round of applause for Singapore. Yeah. So by now, right, you have a actually good basic knowledge of the CSS properties you need to draw things in your browser already. So I'm just going to show you what is possible with a lot more patience and a lot more elements, right? So anime art, this is totally possible. It's created by a friend of mine, Van, who is also based in Singapore. She works at Shopee. I don't think she's here today, but she's pretty amazing. So she's smoking clove on CodePen, and that's she kind of looks like that, because I mean that's a self-portrait, and like she makes a lot of very interesting things on CodePen, so you can go and check it out. Anime art, pure CSS, totally possible. Yeah, old school Game Boy also possible, because you know, right, got gradients, right? So with well-placed gradients, right, it's very easy to get this sort of, okay, it's not very easy, but it's very possible to get this sort of realistic effects. For this particular CodePen, again, I'm going to share the slides with everybody so you can click the link, right? This one has JavaScript because when you press the buttons, there will be sound that comes out. So this is quite fun. So you can do this, again, with CSS. And now we move into the realm of nuts. Nuts, because this level of CSS art creation takes a lot of effort, a lot of time, a lot of patience, and a lot of tweaking. But the end result is like, this is legit. This is not a digital image. This is created with CSS. So it's created by this guy called Ben Evans. This is another one. It's called CSS Still Life, because, you know, still life. He wrote a blog post on creating CSS art. But he didn't tell you how he did it. He just said that like it's something he's obsessed with. Though the good thing about him is that he put all his creations on CodePen. So if you really have some time on your hands, you can just go and look at how he did it. It involves a lot of transforms, a lot of positioning, and 3D transforms for shading. It's actually really very nuts, but it's really very nice. This particular piece actually hit mainstream news because, I don't know, social media kind of works in mysterious ways, I guess. Because somebody started testing in like other browsers. Because this lady, Diana Smith, right, she said, okay, I made this CSS portrait best viewed in Chrome because, you know, it's the latest thing. Then of course somebody's gonna, I want to use Netscape Navigator. Yeah, so then everybody caught on and started like testing every single browser, and then it actually ends up being quite interesting because some of the effects, some of the older browsers that don't support all the gradients or the border radius, right, you can kind of like blocky cubist effects. It's really very interesting, you know. This is truly art. Create once, render differently everywhere. This is the power of the internet, my friends. Yeah. So I also got a link to the article that's written on it. And I mean, I'm sure all of you sitting here, like there are some people who are going to think, okay, create art with CSS. It's like very useless, right? Like, what's the business case? What's the ROI? Why you want to do this kind of thing? But to me, I think doing things for the sake of doing things is actually a very good thing, right? So to end off, I want to quote yet another friend of mine. Clearly, I got friends with quotable quotes. She makes a lot of cool stuff on the web, like mind-controlled CSS and motion control stuff in the browser. So her name is Charlie Gerard. And she said, useless is not worthless. Because there is worth in spending time doing things just because you feel like it. I mean, there is worth in learning how to use something standard every day, but in a new and creative manner. And there is worth because you created something beautiful. And that is something you cannot put a price on. Thank you very much. On time. Oh my God. 40 minutes eh.
Any questions
go
from the ground?
Okay.
Any questions?
Can ask me sing national song. Like gainful employment. When people start paying me money in 2013. Like before that, do for free one. Like nobody pay you one. Yeah. Good question. Yes. Cause when I started, right, I started very randomly because I used to play basketball, and then my coach thought I got nothing better to do my life. Then, cause I'm like the token IT guy, right? Then I would like fix, like I can do sys admin stuff. I can like they're like, Hui Jing, my printer cannot print. Hui Jing, internet cannot connect. Then I go do this kind of thing. Then my coach he's not that technically inclined. So he's like, website, computer. You can do right, same thing, same thing. So he asked me to go and like fix the association website. Then like clearly because I got nothing better to do my life, right? Like, okay, can. So I tried. And then the first pass, right, is just copy and paste other people's code because like isn't that like click view source, it's very nice, copy and paste. Then after that, he goes like, looks not bad. I want to add content. I was like, walao, you never feature creep. You at first never say content, now you say content. But I mean, I realized that I find quite interesting. That's how I got started. And then for me, I think CSS was interesting because you can visually see the end result. Like even JavaScript, right? It's like you do already, then it's like it's logic, which is important. Logic is important, but then I cannot see one. And most is like numbers or okay, correct. My number when I test, okay, it match my test case number correct. But like not sure, CSS you can see the end result. I think it's a personal preference for me because I have friends who like they when they see CSS they literally like okay, thanks, bye. So then it's good. I like working with these people because I'm like, all the things that you don't want to do, you let me do. And all the things I don't want to do, you do. So yeah, that's pretty much how it works for me. Yeah.
How to be a CSS pro like you?
I'm not pro. Like it's just really just play around with it. I think copying and pasting can get by. Like if you want to deliver the deadline that was yesterday, then you copy and paste, never mind. But I think after that, then you should sort of try and figure out like what each of the properties are doing. Because when I started, right, I discovered like, DevTools can toggle on, toggle off, right? Then I go and toggle on like, half these properties don't do anything. That means the previous guy also don't know what he's doing, man. Right? Then I'm like, cannot. So then I started to just learn from there. Just learn from like really literally try and error. Like, why is this margin there? You toggle like, it doesn't do anything. This idiot also copied from somewhere else one. So after a while, you once you realize what these properties does, then you can start writing your own. Then don't you copy other people's like shitty code anymore. You can write your own shitty code. Yeah. No more liao. Okay.
No more questions?
Yeah. Want me to sing the Garaku? Okay, don't want lah. Cannot. No, must have flag, must respect. Hormat. Yeah. Thanks for your patience.
We'd like to thank Hui Jing